Hey guys, welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to look at the overall market and we're going to look at some of the stocks that have really taken a turn for the worst and are at pretty good prices right now, in my opinion. So, not financial advice, just financial opinion. Just giving you guys some stocks to look at and keep track of during this whole market crash. First, let's look at the market though. This is the S&P 500. This is the SPY. Continue to trend downwards, right? We're continuing to move downwards, getting very close to oversold levels on the RSI. The NASDAQ looks very similar pattern, moving downwards. The Russell continues to move downwards as well, more of a steep decline. The VIX, which we look at, now the VIX is going up. It looked like we were dropping down for a little bit, but today we're spiking up. We're about 4.5% at the time of this recording. We always like to be at this red line here, right? 20. We like to stay below the 20. That's stability. So you'll see spikes here and there depending on what's going on in the world or the markets, but we like to stay underneath this line. As you can see, we're way over it right now. But let's look at some stocks that I've been watching and adding to my position for the long term. That's important. It's for the long term, right? Number one is Alibaba. Continues to just get devastated, right? Continues to get crushed. It's really oversold on the RSI over here. We had another big drop, but I will continue to dollar cost average. Alibaba isn't a huge position of mine, and I don't want to have it ever be because there is risk that it delists, but I do believe in the long-term potential of Alibaba, and the prices now are just, it's basically like a steal deal, people have called it, right? So that's one of them. BKE, ticker symbol BEKE. This is Key Holdings. This is another Chinese real estate stock. Again, very oversold, but there's a lot of problems with Chinese stocks, right? There's a lot of delisting that could potentially happen, so you always want to be careful with these Chinese stocks. I personally keep a small portion of my portfolio in them for the few that I really believe in for the long term. So the Chinese stocks that I look at are either, they fall into two categories, right? There's one, growth and innovation, and then one is like your big blue chip stocks. So Alibaba would be considered for me a big Chinese blue chip. BKE would be a potential grower. So that's kind of the way I look at it as far as the Chinese market goes. So that's one of them. Baidu, another Chinese stock that's been devastated, continues to fall. We were kind of going sideways, and it's now fallen out of that range. This is what I would consider kind of a blue chip Chinese stock. Now, moving away from China, Beyond Meat just continues to get devastated. I continue to add, but it continues to fall. It's very sickening, to be honest with you, but I believe in the company for a long term. I have a lot of money invested in them, so I will continue to buy as it continues to fall. Next one up, Facebook. They had that giant drop down here, right, and they continue to move lower, but I think at this point it's a crazy deal, right? Especially if you're looking at the long term with the metaverse and all that. I think Facebook is a good deal, and I will continue to buy as it's at these low prices. Hua. This is another Chinese stock, and it, very similar to the other Chinese stocks that we looked at. It's just a good deal right now, so I started picking up shares. Again, staying with the whole Chinese theme. JD.com. This would be, for me, considered one of the bigger Chinese stocks. It has been moving sideways, and now it's recently just crashed, right? Earnings came out, and you can see they did pretty well on the earnings. I didn't listen to the report, so I don't know what they did as far as forecasting for the future months. That could be potentially why you're seeing a drop, but I think in general, just Chinese stocks are getting devastated, so I've been picking up as it continues to fall. Most of these Chinese stocks that I mentioned today are down over 8% on the day, so just keep that in mind too. McDonald's is one that I've been buying recently just because it's a value stock. I get it, it's kind of boring, but it is a stable company, and they do shoot out dividends, so I try to balance out my portfolio with some dividends stocks, right? So McDonald's just continues to fall, but I think they'll be around, so I've been picking up shares. Next one up, you can kind of see a theme here, right? Next one up is NIO, Chinese EV maker. It just continues to fall. I haven't been buying this one as aggressively, but I did pick up some shares today. Nike, very similar to McDonald's. It's a relatively stable, big company, dividend. They continue to fall. I'll continue to buy accordingly. New one that I started picking up, Planet 13 Holdings. I know Jeremy from Financial Education is a huge proponent of this stock. Really believes in it. They're in he calls it the Jack Jackson space. We're waiting for federal approval, but I think that this company is good for the long term, and they have had a tremendous crash. So I started to pick up some shares at this price. We'll see where it goes. Starbucks, big dividend company. I think a lot of these safer stocks are all being hit, as well as, every stock is being hit. So I think that you need to have a balance of some of the safer stocks in your portfolio. So Starbucks is one of my plays on that. Shopify is one that I've been picking up, just completely fallen, right? We have highest back here in November of 1,700, and we're looking at 520. That's just incredible, isn't it, right? It's like it could go up 3 times the amount and it's still not hit the November 19th price. How incredible is that? So I continue to just dollar cost average, and I believe in the company for the long term, so I will continue to. Snow, this is a bit of a spec play. I haven't gone too heavy into it, but I do have some shares, and I will continue to buy as it continues to fall. They're a tech company. Seagate, ticker symbol STX, more stable than like a Snow, kind of like a Shopify-ish area as far as like what the growth potential is for them. Just continues to fall, so I'll continue to buy there in the tech space. VLDR, this is a big spec play. They use LiDAR technology. I believe I have a video on this. Actually, I know I have a video on this. So take a look at that if you want more insight into this company. But it's just been devastated, right? Back here we're at $15 and we're at $2 now. So I've just been scooping up shares at this low price. And then the last one here is WIMI, WIMI. They use like holograms and AI and AR, VR, new technology stuff. And, they were back here around $8. They're at $2 today. So another spec tech play that I've just been building a position on as it's been so cheap. Last one I want to show you guys is the inflation rate. Just to keep in mind, so this is on the 1 year chart, right? Back in April, we were like a little bit under 3. We're now at 8. So on the 5 year, and you'll see a point here. There's a big spike, right? So we're in the middle of this giant spike. 10 year, stable, big spike. This is where we are right now, right? Keep that in mind. 25 year, there's still some spikes right here, right? We went to negative interest rates over here, negative inflation rate, I should say. But here's what I want to show you, the max. So now if you zoom all the way out, like we always say with stocks, right? When in doubt, zoom out. Look at this, 20% back here in like the 1950s, right? Between the 40s and the 50s, we reached 20%. Over here, even in like the 80s, right? The early 80s, we back 15%. Back even before that, 12%. So you could see if you zoom out that, yeah, we're at 8% here, but we still have way more that we can move up. So we just have to keep that in mind as well, that although everything seems to be terrible right now, and I agree that it's not great, we're in a really bad place, it could get worse. So just keep that in mind whenever you invest or put money into a stock. There's always a potential for it to go lower, right? That's not to scare anyone, just to make everyone aware. But so that's all I got, guys. We'll see what happens in the markets, and I'll see you on the next one.